Leah Richheimer. So glad to see you. Here's the thing. We have so many questions from chapter 1 and 2 from Buried Secrets, and keep them coming. question@ladiestalkshow.com. We had so many questions. So this is going to be answering all the questions that came in that we didn't get to before we go on to the next chapter. Wait a second. Next chapter is chapter 3. So we're on 1 and 2 questions. And this is the Secret Wives Club episode number 16. And we are just going to go right down deep and dirty. Here we go. Okay, Sarit, go ahead. What's the first question?
Okay, so the first question is from Miri, who says, I feel like when I make myself vulnerable and share a feeling with my husband, it comes back to haunt me later. Example, I tell him I get tired easily. So then he says I shouldn't go out with a friend because I'll be too tired. Or I say I was picky as a child. And then when our child is picky, he says it's because of me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so first thing about the child being picky and it's because of you, say, yeah, isn't that cute? It's so sweet, those genes. What a wonderful thing. Now she'll hopefully, because of that, she'll find as good of a husband as I found from being picky. Okay, because I was picky and I got you. And so this is a good trait for her. Don't feel bad about it at all. And even if you know, like if a kid, let's say, has a bad habit, even, you know, they leave stuff, they always lose their keys, just like daddy. You know, it can be, that can be the most aggravating, frustrating part of your life, or it can be the cutest, funniest part of your life. You know, and you can, you know, on his birthday, you can give him like 10 sets of keys. Everything in your whole life can be made into a sweetness, or it can be made sour. It's your choice. So if he is coming at, you know, saying, oh yeah, you know, she's picky, just like you, say, yeah, isn't she cute? You know, even if it's annoying to you, it's fun. Like, yeah, well, like now I know what my mother went through. You know, everything can be infused with humor and sweetness. And then the first question she had, what was the first one about? Not about pickiness.
No, about the one that she says, I feel tired. And then he says,
yeah, and then
you should go out with your friend.
That's right. So that's just a communication thing. She needs to tell him, you know, I need to be able to be vulnerable with you and say, I feel tired without you using it against me. You know, that's a mean way to say it. Let me just rethink that for a second. Hold on. Time out, back up. She needs to be able to say, you know, when I tell you something like I'm tired, I want a little sympathy. I mean, you know, I want you to say, oh, you poor thing. When I am going out, don't use my having shared myself with you, please, to use it against me. It feels it doesn't feel nice. You know, so I get it, you know, and you're probably right, not whether you're right or wrong, because you're probably right. I probably shouldn't go out because I will be tired and then I'll complain, but that's not the time to bring it up to me. You know, I just let me make the mistakes or whatever. Let me complain. Share this with them. And what that means is when you can't use his stuff against him. If he says, oh, you know, I'm so exhausted, there's no way I can change the light for you. I'm just exhausted. And a short while later, he's out, you know, he's up late at night playing a video game and all excited and full of energy, and jumps up, grabs some ice cream, comes sit down, and he's doing it, whatever he's doing. You know, I don't know if anyone does video, I don't know, whatever. I recently saw things saying that half the world plays video games. I don't know.
Yeah, Leah, you talk about crocheting and crumpets and cowbells.
Okay.
And the real world is talking video games because yes, that's what we have in our house. My husband loves video games.
Okay, fine. Okay, so he's there and you're like, so if you come to him and say, I thought you were so tired, you couldn't change a light bulb, and now you've got enough energy for this. If you use what he says against him, guess what, ladies? You're opening the door for him to use what you say against you. Whereas if you zip your lip, use your duct tape, okay, and you know, he was so tired he couldn't change the light bulb, and he's full of energy, just don't say anything. Don't use it against him. He hopefully won't use it against you. And if he does, you need to sit him down and have a yummy conversation with him. Okay, next question.
Okay, so Racheli says, and she prefaces by saying, I know this is not something that you discussed or part of the first 2 chapters, but she says a huge source of contention for my husband and I is his mother. Is there a section in the book about how to deal with a difficult mother-in-law? It's a cause of some serious arguments between my husband and I. So she just wants to make sure that moving forward, there's going to be a section that is going to cover this.
Yes. So first of all, we have a show on mother-in-laws, so you can watch that. that talks all about it in a very deep way, which I think you'll really, really like, gain a lot from. It's a game changer video. It's Ladies Talk. Just go to www.ladiestalkshow.com and then type in-laws or mother-in-law or some mother, something like that, and you'll be able to hopefully find that. So that's one thing. The other thing is that you will find that we are going to be covering it a little bit, but the game changer is going to be when there's a further closeness in your marriage with your husband. Mother-in-law issues are often loyalty issues. And we know from our sources that it says a man should leave his home and cleave to his wife. And many men that confuse, because it says, you should respect, you should kibbut avim, you should respect your mother, you should respect your father. And so they get that all muffed up in their head, but they don't realize the bottom line is, it says, if your wife wants something and your mother-in-law wants something, you do what your wife wants, okay? A man may not realize that or may not act upon that. It's not a wife's job to whip him and to tell him, you need to, and yell at him and whatever. That's not going to work. It's going to backfire. But a woman knowing that means that she can ease her husband into treating her and cleaving to her in a way that's much, much deeper and much more powerful. And that those mother-in-law issues will lessen because the husband will understand where his loyalty needs to be. Same thing with a wife and her husband. If her mother is feeding her information, your husband did what? He should have done this, you should have done, and she's disloyal to her husband, she's going to get it back tenfold. It's just terrible, terrible. The loyalty that is necessary in a marriage is crucial. And right now, if a mother-in-law is interfering with that loyalty, if it gets so bad, you have to cut the relationship off. End of story. There's no shalom. That's this shaila many, many times to obey him, and it's horrible. But if that's what needs to happen to bring shalom bias, nothing can get in the way of shalom bias. And if the mother-in-law it's her bad. She's out. Sorry, that's the way it is, and it's horrible. It's horrible. But there are a lot of you have to get rebellion involved, but part of it is getting your husband educated. But he can't be educated by you wagging your finger. He has to be educated by you saying, I've been learning that, a husband is supposed to cleave to a wife and he put his wife before his mother. And, and I'm not sure how how that plays out and what I can do. I know you're such a good person. Heap on some praise. I know you're such a good person and you want to take care of your mother, but she's being mean to me, or there's, I feel disloyal. I feel like you take her side over mine and you listen to her more than me. And, I don't know what to do about it. What do you think we should do? Again, put it in his lap. Very, very important conversation to have. Okay, go ahead, Sophie.
Okay, so Michelle said in a previous show, you spoke about how for shalom you can pretend and not necessarily say all the truth. So she said she's divorced, and she said my ex-husband used to say, "Why are you lying?" He was able to tell if she was pretending and faking it. It hurt me because I was a firm believer to keep the peace in the home, and he was always calling me out on it. I never had a good comeback. So it's good that I know that I can't pretend, but I wasn't very good at it, obviously. So how do I do it?
So I don't know if you're still on what was her name?
This was Michelle.
Michelle, if you're still on the line, I'd like to know what you meant by pretending. Like if you're pretending like, did you go grocery shopping? No. And you did, so
I think she was talking about, like when you said to laugh at the jokes and to like sit there, and if you're hurt by something he said, to just pretend you're not at that moment, and just different things of like, but she's obviously not so good at being able, or maybe her feelings are much more transparent on her face. Mm-hmm. So even though she verbally says something,
so then the question is, when he says, why are you pretending? Why are you lying? Say, well, maybe help me out here. I learned that, you're supposed to make someone else feel good. And, and I feel like, there's emes, there's truth, and then there's shalom and peace. And I always held peace as a more important thing. So even if you've told the joke 10 times and you tell it again, I find, it's not like I'm robustly laughing 100% because I heard it before, and it's a little corny maybe even, but there's 5% of me that is joyous at your telling the story, and I just magnify that 5%. And if that bothers you, I mean, I can hear that, but I just feel like it makes us have a much better life during the day. What would you prefer that I do? Wait for his answer. And he might say, well, emes is the most important, the truth is the most important thing to me. I don't want you pretending. So then you say, well, if you make a joke and I, don't think it's that funny, you just want me to go, ah, ha, ha. Wouldn't that make you feel worse? And see what he says. And if he says, no, I'd rather have that than you lying about it. Okay, so fine, now you know. If someone says, why are you lying? It's because they understand you deeper, and in a way, it's kind of like they are more in touch. They're in touch with you, which is a good thing. But calling you a liar is not such a good thing. It's not nice. So you have to strike that balance by communicating and finding out what the alternatives are, what he wants from you. And, maybe he'll ask you something you're not wanting to do. You're not wanting to say, I'm not the type to be sarcastic and say, ha, ha, that stupid joke again. I can't do that. What would you like me to do? Say nothing? I could say nothing. You have to know what you're capable of saying, what you want to say. But again, all of this happens in a communication. If he's saying something like you're a liar, there's a lot more tension in the marriage of other things. And this is just his way of getting out of it, meaning, or taking it out on you. I don't know whether in the background, it looks like he's bad and wrong in this situation. And we could easily come to that conclusion. We're hearing one side of the story and we're hearing one aspect of the whole relationship. It could be that the wife is constantly putting him down. Michelle, I don't mean to put you down. I don't know what your relationship was like, but if you were constantly chipping at his self-esteem and making him feel less than, that he wasn't providing well for you, or that he wasn't giving to you, or that he wasn't there for you, or he was less than a man, if he sensed all those feelings, then he would pick at anything that any weakness you had, which is maybe not being so good at pretending, or like he wants you to. He can say, "I want you to be truthful to me," because that's something everybody would vote on. Yes, you should be more truthful. It might be much more important for him to want truth, but he's attacking that because he isn't getting what he needs from being respected by his wife in the first place. I'm not blaming the victim. I'm giving you seeing with your eyes open so you can change the situation, so you can act differently. And when a woman follows our Masorah and gives her husband what he needs, he's less sarcastic and less prone to these kinds of calling her a liar. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but you're less prone to it. That's what your work should be in the preparing for your next marriage. Okay, sorry, more.
Okay, so Daniela says, when I first got married, I had all these ideals about how my marriage should look. As the years went by and different crises arose, failed startup, teenage issues, difference in parenting styles, I'm feeling flat and resigned to an okay marriage. I'm disappointed, but don't feel like I have the energy to put in the work.
I hear. Called burnout. I hear. When has anyone ever given your kid ice cream for the first time? You go with the ice cream, right? It's vanilla ice cream. Maybe it's been chocolate chip, my favorite. Okay, you go with the ice cream and you go to the kid, and the kid goes, and goes, he won't let you. You're like, hello, it's ice cream. Are you out of your mind? And you keep you're trying and whatever. And finally, you put a little on their tongue. You smush a little bit around their mouth or whatever. And they're mad that you did it. But they are over here and they go. And they're like, what? It's ice cream. I've watched this Baruch Hashem, many, many times. And so here's the thing. It's a little bit where you are in your life right now, which is you have no idea the treasure that awaits you for putting the energy in. You have no clue. It's ice cream, like piles and piles of ice cream with zero calories, okay? you have so much joy and pleasure and happiness and satisfaction and closeness that's available to you. And you're only 220 Torah sources away from having that in your life. So I get it. I get where you've come from, and I get the resigned to the way life is. And I put so much on, and I've tried this and that. This is guaranteed. You will try some of this homework. You will try some of these things. You'll try some of these insights and brain shifts and things that make you understand what a wife and a husband, what a husband brings to the marriage, what a wife brings to the marriage, what closeness is, how to get that closeness. You will learn all these tools, and you'll be eating ice cream to 120. Okay. So I get your I'm trying right now to put hope back in your heart, to make the energy to try just a few little things. And please God, you'll be able to taste that delicious ice cream in Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba, in this world and in the next world. And it does take effort. But so does opening your mouth and chewing ice cream. Okay. All right. Next question, Sari.
Wow. So Lynn said that she loves what you just said with a big heart. She said you made her day. Wow. I think we all like that analogy. Like there's hope. There's ice cream. Okay, so Dina says, my husband is a high-profile person in the community. Whenever we go out, for even just the two of us, people think nothing of gate crashing our date and engaging with my husband. I feel ignored. It's a fine line to ask my husband not to engage. This issue is really beginning to come between us.
I hear. So I think you need to balance it out. You need to have time when it's just me time, and it's time when you are doing his social number. He probably gets a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Juice, as chizik, a lot of, validation. I don't know what it is, that from those interactions. So you can't steal that away from him. By the same token, I totally hear you need your me time, or your alone time with your husband. So I wouldn't consider your date night at a restaurant with people gate crashing constantly as your intimate time together, your closeness when you're sharing and listening and talking and whatever. And for those kinds of conversations, you need to find a different activity. I don't care whether it's walking. I don't care if it's taking a long drive in the country. I don't care if it's sitting on Zoom when he's at work because he's got a lunch break from 12:15 to 1:45, and you're sitting at Zoom talking to him at that time. You must have that alone time with him. And if it's interrupted at date night from these people, that wouldn't even be, counted in the tally of time you need with your husband. That would be something else. That would be, engagement time. And when he's talking to somebody else, you should feel free to use your phone. I mean, I would ask him, and it might be rude to the person or whatever, but you can say, when you're having these big, long conversations about how many seats in Shul for Yontif and, whatever thing's working out, how hard would it be for you if I went on my phone and answered some emails or texted my sister or put in my ear pods and listened to a shiur that I'm in the middle of, with that, I know that's not ideal, but if that on a scale from 1 to 10 is 5 annoying to you, I'm going to do it. If it's 10 annoying to you and horrible for you, I'll sit there like whatever, and just like an idiot, whatever, I'll just sit there and do that if that's what you're asking me to do, but it's not easy. So again, you're separating and conquering, okay? You're separating your date night, which is his social time, which he needs. Maybe he only needs that some of the time. Maybe he'd even be open to the fact, listen, for the, before our meal is served, you can interact with anybody who gate crashes. The minute the hot food is put on the table, you will turn to them and say, oh, we're in the middle of eating, I'll catch you later. Okay? Make these agreements, but it all comes out through really genuine, heartfelt communication without making him wrong and wagging your finger and yelling, and just being as kind as you can to get that closeness you deserve. Okay, next question.
Well, so it's so interesting that this was brought up, this conversation, because literally just this week and a half ago, Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein was nifter, and this is what they kept talking about in the Hespedim, that his wife, he was such a public figure, and everywhere he went, he couldn't step out for more than a few feet without him being attacked from all ends, from people, and his wife literally she was who he was because she allowed all this, and all they spoke about was how close their relationship was, because they always made time for each other, like you just said, not in the public eye, privately. We have our private moments and we can find them. So, you have said this many times that date night doesn't necessarily have to be going outside. It could be, going at night around the block for a walk or going to your backyard and sitting with a cup of tea. Yeah. So I have this idea of what date night needs to be. And I think it's something like we have to really rethink it. So Dean actually said, very smart. If I could couch it like you said, then he will understand what it feels like as opposed to whining. Thank you, Leah. So you hit the nail on that one. Okay, so Shayna says there's been a lot of talk in the media recently about Laura Doyle's book, The Surrendered Wife, which many find controversial. Your book is all about Torah sources. So she's asking, what is your opinion about a wife? You keep talking about a wife in a sense, not surrendering herself, but in a wife sort of
following the Masorah.
Correct. Following the Masorah. How is that the same thing as what it means to sort of surrender yourself? Our Masorah versus...
I don't know. I have been very strongly advised to stay very, very far away from that material. So I don't even want to talk about it because I've heard people have wonderful results from it. So but again, I've never heard a rabbi say, oh, this is hechsher, this is fantastic, everybody should read this book. So I was advised against it, and that's fine. And I also don't want to learn that material and then accidentally say what she said, and so that makes me very creeped out, and then claim it as my own. I don't know what she says. I know she probably says some good things because she's producing results. I have a feeling, and this is what somebody told me who is familiar with his work, that everything that woman said that works is something that can be sourced back in the Torah. Torah. Anything 100% wrong isn't sourced there, and it's total not good, like very, very bad. I've heard, I don't know what that is. I don't want to criticize anybody. I don't know her work at all. People come to me and people ask, how does it differ? I have no idea. So I can't really answer the question. All I can
but I think the question is more like, do you, in what you speak about, you also tell a woman to sort of make herself vulnerable and not necessarily say everything. And so but you're not calling it surrendered. So your word is what? That a woman
needs to be the receiver. And by the way, everybody should know these aren't Leah's words. This isn't like, oh, Leah had this great idea, let's follow her. Mm-hmm. No, this is our Masorah. This is what God gave at Har Sinai, is our Masorah for how to have the ultimate happiness and joy and closeness in our marriages. He taught us how to do it. If he didn't teach us, okay, we'd just be sad. All the people are struggling and tension and fighting and arguments and divorce and all these problems. It's really sad, but but it's not well. We have a Masorah. We know exactly what to do. It might be hard to do it. God didn't hide it from us. Somehow, in the last 50 or 100 years, it's not in our brains anymore. It's not taught in schools. It's not taught by mothers to daughter. It's just like, where did it go? Where is it? 220 Torah sources. I don't think I'm such a genius to put these all in one place. If any one of you who's watching this right now went to your bookshelf, I bet you could pull down 20 books and all of the sources I put together are there. You could have written this book. I'm not joking. I'm not saying that like as a cutesy thing. I'm saying anybody could have written this book because the Masorah is the Masorah. And I hope you will consider writing another book on it and yours outsells mine. I would be thrilled. I would recommend your book. Fine. What I'm saying is know the Masorah. Because if you know the Masorah, you are guaranteed to have a better marriage, a closer marriage, and to have the satisfaction in your life in this world and to 120, and then after in Olam Haba, to be able to have Hashem's guiding, his light, the merit that you will have for having Shalom Bayis with every ounce of work that you've done on Shalom Bayis, you will collect. Okay, I don't know about her work. I don't know, our Masorah.
By the way, Miriam actually said which is so on the nail. She said your method and the Torah method is the cherished wife.
Okay, I'm there,
and I love it. I think it's what we've been talking about. Cherished.
It's cherished. It's true, but here's one thing: is that we don't have a Masorah for surrender. We don't have a Masorah for, we have a Masorah from Mavatra, which means to give in. But the Masorah is to be a receiver. That's it. And a receiver is not just somebody who surrenders. I'm not arguing with her surrender, because I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know the material to know whatever, but I'm just saying the word surrender means that, that Ezer Kenegdo isn't somebody who surrenders. That's a helpmate opposite him. It doesn't say a helpmate who just, is surrendering under him, whatever, our Masorah, she's opposite him. She's opposite, meaning that her Bini Sarah, her women's intuition is crucial to the shalom and the peace in the home and the direction of their lives. It's very, very crucial. And I don't know, maybe, I don't know what word she used and what she meant by her word or whatever, and what she teaches. Again, I said, I do know people who told me, oh, I got so much from that book. So I would even say, edit this out of this show, but I'm just going to let it go. I'll tell you why. I want people to desperately, desperately want to learn everything they possibly can to have more shalom in their life. Whether that's from a book I wrote or another book, a Torah source, I would for sure say try and find a Torah source for it. But if there's things that are Torah in that book, and maybe someone could do all of the other women a favor and read it and say, and highlight all the things or say from page this to this is good. Don't read this, whatever, because there's got to be some good in there if good's coming out of it. I think. I don't know. I'm not a Rav. I don't know. Ask your local rabbi. I don't know the answer to that. All I do know is this one it's been vetted by 27 rabbis, 12 rabbis and 27 rebbitzins and Art Scroll and all. This has been vetted as much as a book can possibly be to make sure that it follows exactly the right thing. I'm very proud of that fact. And I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to share our Masorah with you, because I want to get it out to you and that you to get it to other people, and to have a voda of our generation is following Shalom Bayis Masorah, our Shalom Bayis Masorah, and we all together raise Klal Yisrael and the rest of the world to a very, very good heights to bring Mashiach. Okay, so the homework for this week is, when you get to that burnt out place or that resentment place, you're like, I can't do anything more. Like, are you joking? More is being demanded of me, more being requested of me. When you get one time this week, or if you can do more, great, one time this week, try to get over that hurdle. Like really, I still have to do this, and push yourself one more time. And then reward yourself handsomely, whether that's with ice cream or whether that's with patting yourself on the back or buying a piece of clothing. Get on the other side of burnout, get on the other side of resentment, get on the other side of frustration and feeling like the burden and carrying that yoke, and go forward with a very, very good action. If you're just so exhausted and then your husband says, oh, I forgot to get a fork, get up and get him his fork. You get your gold stars, you get your prize, and take care of yourself for doing the right thing and pushing yourself just a little bit farther when you're feeling burned out. Action has a way, we know this from our sources, action has a way of giving us strength. Try this at home. Okay, it's Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We are the Secret Wives Club, and we will see you next time. Mwah.